Good morning, hello, welcome. My name's Barclay Loggie and today we're going to look at a bracelet tutorial. I'm actually wearing the little bracelet that I'm going to show you how to make today. I've called it Rings of Saturn, basically because I thought the little DiscDuos in the center could be the planet, and then there's a ring, or there are two rings around each DiscDuo. And it's a pattern that's going to be made using one length of thread to make the entire bracelet. As we normally do before we start the actual project, we just go through a list of the materials that we're going to need, starting with these lovely DiscDuos here. And the benefit of the DiscDuos is that they don't have a right or a wrong side. You can use them either way. They are flat, so it doesn't matter if they flip about while you're beading. Not too much concentration on trying to keep things the right way. They are of course double drilled, so 2 holes at the top and 2 holes at the base. We're also going to be using 2 lots of size 11 seed beads. I've got Galvanised Lt Beige and Seafoam Green Matte Picasso, and I've chosen their corresponding colours in a size 8 seed bead. So I've got the Seafoam Picasso and the Galvanised Lt Beige. I will pop the details of the colours in the description of this video if you'd like to use the same colours that I have. I've also got a toggle clasp. I've got 6 pound Fireline and I'm using Black Satin. None of my beads are transparent, so the thread isn't going to be showing through, so black is ideal for that. I've got my thread zapper to end off threads, and I've got a size 10 beading needle. For this project you're going to need about 2 meters of your Fireline threaded onto your needle, and we're going to start by picking up a DiscDuo. As we often say in bead weaving, once you've done the first few little sequences, it's very repetitive, so I'm actually just going to bead a section of this for you, and if you need to go backwards or to re-watch it again, you can just rewind, because it is a very repetitive pattern. So we're going to start by picking up our DiscDuo, and it doesn't matter which hole you go through because you can just easily flip it around with your finger. And I'm going to move the DiscDuo down towards the end of my thread. You only need to leave about a 5 centimeter tail ready for tying off, because we're going to be beading, sorry, let me just get my thread out the way. We're going to be beading from one end to the other and then beading back towards where we started. So when it comes to adding on the clasp, you'll have thread at the start end to add on one side of your clasp, but you will have to attach a new piece of thread to add on the other end of your clasp. So I'll just pop that one out the way. So I've got about a 5 centimeter tail, and I'm going to start the first ring around my DiscDuo, and I'm going to pick up 4 of my Seafoam seed beads, and on the same side where my thread is exiting from at the top, I'm going to come through the hole at the base. So I've got 4 little beads hugging the outer edge there. I'm now going to jump across to the 2 holes that form, or that are pierced through the left hand side of my DiscDuo, and I need to pick up a sequence of beads to form that little bridge between the 2 holes. And for that sequence I'm going to pick up 111, 18 and 111, all in the Seafoam, and pass my needle down through the second hole. And when you pull your threads in tight, you'll see how they start to form a ring around your DiscDuo. We're now going to pick up 4 to do the left hand side, so I'm picking up another 4 of my 11s, and I'm just going to flip the thread over to the other side, and I'm going to come through the DiscDuo from the top to the bottom. and they may just need a little coaxing to sit flat because they may just want to bunch up a little bit. So at this stage here, you can actually tie your tail thread off to your working thread, or you can do it much later on in the project. I'm going to tie it off now so that I know that it's done and I don't have to worry about it again. And I'm just using a surgeon's knot, which is a normal knot to begin with, and the second time you pass the thread through the loop twice and it should keep things secure. I won't take that tail thread off just yet, but I will in a moment. So now all that's left for me to do is to bridge the gap between the two holes on the other side, and I'm going to use an 11, an 8 and an 11 to do that. Pass the needle straight up through the DiscDuo. And if I pop that down, you can see you've got your first little ring of the Picasso seed beads around the DiscDuo. We're ready to continue with our design, having just come through the DiscDuo. And now what we need to do is this little section of beading here that connects the two DiscDuos together. So in order to do that, I need to be exiting through this 8. And if you remember where the 8s are, that's the little bridge we make between the two holes on the DiscDuo, and it consists of an 11, an 8 and 11. So we've just come through the DiscDuo. We're going to come through the 11 that's on the top and the 8. We're using those beads that formed the little bridge, and we're now going to form the connection by picking up 3 of our Picasso 8s and passing the needle back down through the same 8. The thread exited from the base and we entered the bead from the top. And that gives you a neat little, well, they almost form like a little cross in the center there. We need to get to the extreme right hand side, so without picking up any beads, you're going to pass your needle through the 8 at the bottom and the 8 on the side. And now we are ready to continue. Because our 8 always forms the bridge, before we pick up a DiscDuo, we're going to pick up one little size 11, then your DiscDuo. Letting them come down, and I'm now going to bead around this top outer edge of the DiscDuo by picking up 4 of my size 11 seed beads and passing back through that same hole of the DiscDuo. And if I just flip my thread over to the other side, you might be able to see it happening. And I'm just giving my thread a little tug to pull everything up into place. Now we're bridging the gap on the other side, so it's 111, 18, 111, and down through the empty holes of the DiscDuo. Before we connect up to our 8 on the connecting point here, we're going to edge the bottom rounded part of the DiscDuo. So we're going to pick up 4 of our Picasso seed beads, and we're going to pass back through that same hole. Ready to connect up with the 8. Remember the bridging sequence was an 11, an 8 and an 11. We've got the 11 on the top side, there's the 8. We need an 11 on the bottom side, and we can connect through. We're going to pass through the 8, and we're actually going to go through the little 11 as well, ready to continue. And when I pull that through, you've now got 2 of your DiscDuos connected together. And again, we are now going to pass directly through the DiscDuo to the other side. You could, if you wanted to, go through all these little 11s on the outside, but you run the risk of skipping one out and therefore having excess thread showing. So this is like taking a shortcut, just going straight through the DiscDuo to the other side. And remember our little sequence, bridging the gap. We've got an 11, an 8 and an 11 on the other side. So I'm actually going to pass through the 11 and the 8, ready to do my next little connecting bridge, picking up 3 of my size 8 Picasso seed beads and passing back through that same 8. And of course we need to get round, so I'm passing through the bottom one and through the one on the side. And I'm now ready to add my next DiscDuo. So we're at the point where we've got the bridge connecting with an 11 and 8 and 11, so I'm going to pick up one 11 first and then a DiscDuo. Now I'm going to do around the edge of the DiscDuo, bead around with 4 of my Picasso seed beads, going back through the same hole that I've just used. Give your thread a little tug to move things up into the right place, and you're now going to bridge the gap on the right hand side by picking up 1 11, 1 8 and 1 11, all in your Picasso colors, and passing the needle down through the empty hole of the DiscDuo. And we're going to edge that top edge with another 4 of our size 11 Picasso seed beads, passing the needle back through the same hole again. Ready to connect up to our 8s that form our connection point, but we need 1 more 11 before passing through that 8. And my thread's just got caught underneath there. Let's just lift it up. And I'm going to pass through the first little 11 on the other side of that 8. One of the 3 beads that makes the sequence bridging the gap between the 2 holes. And I'm going to pass directly through that hole of the DiscDuo, and then pass through the 11 and the 8 on the other side, and I'm ready to do my next connection point. So you would continue adding in your DiscDuos until you had a length long enough to go around your wrist, around the wrist of the person you're making for. I always put in a little reminder at this stage. Don't bead your bracelet too long. Your clasp, especially if you're adding in a toggle clasp, adds in another inch to your beaded bracelet. So if you normally make bracelets that are 7 inches long, this beaded section between my fingers must only be 6 inches long. And then once you've added in the clasp, you get your extra inch. Right, so using your imagination, I have beaded a full strip ready to go around my wrist. And I'm now going to show you how we do the outer ring. We're adding in the rose gold colors now. So I'm going to pop that off to one side again. Let's just move these down a bit. From where you've finished, you are exiting one of your size 8 seed beads on the end. I'm now going to pass the needle up through the 3 of my Picasso. I'm splitting the Picassos now. So I'm passing up through 3 of my size 11 Picassos on the right. And I'm going to add in a rose gold 8 before going down the 3 Picassos on that top edge on the left hand side. And you'll see it gives you a nice little point at the top there. I need to come through the 8, and I'm just going to flip this around to make it easier to show you, and I'm going to pass up through the first 3 Picassos on this other side now. I've gone through 4, I just want to go through 3. And just as we did on this left hand side here, we're going to add in a size 8 in rose gold and pass the needle down through the 3 Picassos on the other side, and I'm actually going through the 8 as well. So if I pop that down, you can see how you've just got a neat little point there on either end of your DiscDuo. While we're here, I'm going to finish off this little edge here with some rose gold size 8s, and I'm just going to pick up 3 and I'm going to pass through the Picasso size 8, and those 3 rose gold ones just give me an attachment point for one end of my clasp. Right, now we're going to do the ring of rose gold that goes up to our rose gold 8. Now we had 3 Picassos here and we need this ring to be slightly larger, so we're going to pick up 4 of our rose gold 11s and pass through the rose gold 8. And we're going to do the same coming down the other side. Pick up 4 of your rose golds in the 11s and pass through the 8 on the connection point. And you've done your ring of rose gold around the top of your DiscDuo. Now we need to do the same thing around the other side. So picking up 4 of your rose gold 11s, passing through the 8, and then another 4 of your rose gold 11s and passing through the Picasso 8 on the edge there. Now depending on how tight your bead weaving is, we've been adding 4 rose gold between each of the 8s. You might want to add in 5. I did try it with 5, but it changed my shape from circular to more of a rectangular, I guess a rectangular shape with rounded edges. So I wanted to keep my circular pattern, so I've just kept my tension quite tight as well. But as I say, there's nothing to stop you if you're unhappy with gapping around the edge here. There's nothing to stop you from adding 5 rose gold seed beads in that corner, 5 in the left corner, 5 in the bottom left, and 5 in the bottom right. So you've now edged 1 of your DiscDuos in both, and we need to get to the other side. So just as we did before, we're going to pass our needle straight through the DiscDuo to get to the other side. And you'll need to pass through the 8s in the Picasso colour, or the first colour you used, to get round to the other side. Now before we added in the corners, we added in a little point, top and bottom, and that was by going through 3 of our size 11s, picking up a rose gold 8 and coming down through 3 11s on the other side, and I'm going to try and go through the 8 at the same time. And then you're going to pass up through 3 11s on the other side, pick up an 8 and pass down the 3 11s and the 8 as you go back. And you're now ready to do your rose gold ring around there. And as I said, I'm using 4 of my rose gold size 11s at a time, but if you would prefer to use 5, it doesn't alter the pattern, it still works. You just get a slightly different shape depending on your beading tension. And I'm picking up another 4 and passing through the Picasso 8 on the edge. Four more of my rose gold and through the rose gold 8. And the last little corner that needs beading in with the rose gold, picked up 4 and I'm passing through the Picasso that I started from in this little ring around my DiscDuo. So I've got 2 that are complete there, and as we did before, to get to the other side I'm just going to pass the needle straight through the DiscDuo so that I'm ready to continue. And you will need to pass through your your size 8 seed beads in the Picasso color that formed your connection point between the two DiscDuos, and up through that one. And before I add in the ring of rose gold, I'm going to do my 2 pointers. So I'm passing the needle up through 3 of my Picasso 11s. Sorry, my thread just got stuck there. Picking up a size 8 in the rose gold and going down through the 3 Picassos on the other side. And just as I did on this side, I got this edge ready for adding in the clasp. I'm going to do the same at the very beginning. I'm going to pick up my 3 rose gold and go through that end and continue up through 3 11s, ready to add in my final point, a size 8 in rose gold, and down through the 3 11s and the 8 on the other side. And I'm now ready to do my final ring. So I'm picking up 4 of my rose gold 11s. You might be picking up 5. Pass the needle through the rose gold 8, another 4, through the Picasso 8 on the end, and 4 more, through my rose gold point, and my last 4, and through the Picasso 8 on the end. And you'll see that you have completed all the rings around your beadwork. And all that's left to do now is for you to add on the clasp, and because the clasp is coming on the end, you're going to do just as you did if you were beading and pass straight through that end DiscDuo and through the Picasso, and then you can easily get into the gold that's on the edge. Sorry, I've moved a bit too far down there. And I'm exiting up at the top there, ready and able to add on one end of my clasp. And I just did this so very simply. You can see here I just used 3 little size 11s to add on one end of my clasp. You need to end off your thread securely and start a new thread to add on the other end of your clasp. A lot of my tutorials show you exactly how to add on a clasp, or how I add on the clasp. There are no rules to it. So I'm trying to keep this one a bit shorter, and if you need to see how I add on a clasp, please have a look at one of the other demos and you'll see how I add on the clasp, reinforcing it before ending off my threads. So here's your ring of Saturn bracelet, all completed and ready for you to have a go. I'd love to see the colours you choose. It's always great fun to see what people put together, because sometimes it's colours that you'd never have thought of and they work really, really well. So as usual, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments below, and I'm sure you know by now I am pretty quick to answer most questions that come my way, if I can. If I can't, I'll find out the answer. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.